Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is an honor to be here this evening for the John Locke Foundation and for your 25th anniversary. And this next song that you're going to hear is a special tribute. I was blessed enough to be able to sing it in the public for the first time for the late President Ronald Reagan. And an arrangement by the late Isaac Hayes. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless America. It's my home, sweet, sweet home. Oh, from the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean white with foam. God bless, oh bless America. It's my home, sweet home. God bless America. It's my home, sweet, sweet home.
Good evening. 25 years ago, my good friend Art Pope sat at his kitchen table and mapped out a plan to bring hope, opportunity, and self-reliance to every North Carolina citizen who dreams of a better life. You see, Art not only has the intellect, he has a huge heart. It's why, as governor, I asked him to be my budget director. Art doesn't just do or say things, he feels things and takes action. The John Locke Foundation's 25-year legacy is a lot like Art, helping people enjoy freedom and opportunity by urging leaders to delve deeper into the why and also why not of public issues. The Locke Foundation reminds us that our decisions impact real people in very real ways, and that's quite a legacy and quite a reason to celebrate Art Pope. Congratulations, Art. You deserve this incredible achievement, and congratulations to the John Locke Foundation for an enlightening 25 years. May this evening bring us closer to our shared goal of unleashing the potential of everyone in North Carolina.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our 25th anniversary celebration. We are so delighted to have you here tonight. You might say that we're celebrating our silver medal, and we're going to be going for the gold. You have already enjoyed our wonderful food and entertainment. How about that Yolanda Rabun? You're going to hear from some other very special guests tonight, including our keynote speaker. You'll watch as we honor some outstanding North Carolina leaders, and you'll continue to enjoy your meal and your sumptuous dessert. But first, I'm afraid that you're going to have to suffer through some opening remarks by me. Back in November, as you may have heard, it was announced that I was leaving the staff of the John Locke Foundation after 25 years to take a new job. I understand that there was rejoicing across the land, particularly in my own staff, and not just at the News and Observer, but even beyond to other places. And within my own staff, there was apparently some sense that because I would no longer be president, I would no longer have an opportunity to speak at the annual banquets. I am here to quash that glimmer of hope forever. Thank you. I suppose, though, I have to get serious for a second and tell you the reason why I left the presidency of the John Locke Foundation. I know that you have heard various cover stories. One is that I'm about to star in a reality television show chronicling my transition from conservative commentator to Moral Monday protester. Another cover story is that I'm about to take the job as offensive coordinator at the Seattle Seahawks. Apparently, they have decided that at offensive coordinator, they would like someone who has a track record of being offensive. Then there's this ridiculous tale, I can't believe anybody believes this one, that I become president of the John William Pope Foundation. As if Art Pope would be so foolish as to let me anywhere near the place. So let me tell you what is actually going on. It is really very simple. I got an offer that I couldn't refuse. No, not that kind of offer. I did meet with Tom Apodaca briefly. That's a little inside joke there. But no, that's not the reason that I left. The reason is that I got a job offer. As of next week, I will become the new anchor of NBC Nightly News. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. You may wonder why, but I think it was my time as a pilot in the Flying Tigers during World War II that really clinched it. Now, I should tell you that part of the deal with NBC is that I also get a primetime show on MSNBC. Now, the way I think about it, because I have a wife, 3 kids, 2 parents, 4 siblings, 5 nephews and nieces, and several dozen cousins and in-laws and relatives, all of whom could be expected to watch my show at least once a week, this will roughly triple the primetime audience of MSNBC. So my new career as a news broadcaster will not be as much of a stretch as you might think. For most of the past 25 years, I've been doing weekly television statewide across North Carolina, first on Public TV's North Carolina This Week program, and then since 1998, of course, on the program NC Spin, which is on every Sunday morning. I'm sure you watch it. So on NC Spin, as you know, I express my opinions on the issues of the day. As the new anchor of NBC Nightly News, I will express my opinions on the issues of the day. I'll just call it news. So it's really not that much of a stretch. Okay, so really seriously, I should say that while I'm no longer on the staff of the John Locke Foundation, I will continue to remain active as a member of the Board of Directors, currently chairman of the Board of Directors, still writing my column and doing media and public appearances. This is not a relationship that is ending. It's just changing. and I appreciate the opportunity to speak to you tonight. There's someone else in the room, however, who has an even longer relationship with the John Locke Foundation than I do. As Governor McCrory already mentioned, Art Pope was the driving force behind the founding of our organization. He and his father, John Pope, were its first donors. He helped recruit the other seed donors, who included Ed Morris, David Stedman, the Broyhill family, and the Brady Foundation. Art even came up with the name, the John Locke Foundation, in order to honor the English philosopher of freedom, whose words had served as a personal inspiration. Now, Art has done many things during his lengthy career in public service, from working on the Jim Martin for Governor campaign and then in the Martin administration. By the way, Governor Martin is here tonight. Governor Martin, why don't you stand up just a moment? So after that, Art later served in the legislature for 4 terms. As Governor McCrory mentioned, he served as budget director in the McCrory administration. He has also founded, funded, and counseled many organizations in North Carolina and beyond. But I admit to a bias. I think his single greatest service to North Carolina has been what happened more than 25 years ago when he initiated the project that became the John Locke Foundation. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage the president of Variety Wholesalers Incorporated, chairman of the John William Pope Foundation, Art Pope.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for those very kind words. And he does work for the Polk Foundation now, if you didn't notice by those kind words. But I want to go back one generation further to my father, John W. Pope. My father grew up in the Great Depression in a small town, then Fuquay Springs. Went to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill at 16 years of age, then dropped out at 17, lied about his age to join the U.S. Army Air Corps. After the war, he returned on the GI Bill. And some of you don't know, he had a couple of business failures early on and young in life before he went into the retail business, starting traditional 5 and 10 dime stores, and built a very successful company from that. But my father was very concerned. He didn't want merely himself and his family and our employees and customers to benefit from his efforts. He wanted to make sure that future generations in North Carolina and across the country had the same opportunity to succeed in our free, democratic society with a market economy subject to the rule of law and a constitutional limited government. Those are the type of discussions we have as well as business. So that's why he started the John William Pope Foundation in 1986. And we did traditional humanitarian charity and still do, which is extremely very important. And my father was very engaged when I was just a kid in politics. I mean, an early supporter of Senator Helms and Governor Jim Martin, Governor Jim Gardner, and those early campaigns. And those are all necessary: humanitarian charity, direct engagement, political campaigns, but to ensure long-lasting prosperity for multiple generations. You need to be engaged in public policy. And we tried to get engaged in public policy in North Carolina. There were a few groups already there, but they were mainly short-term, narrow interests, or had, shall we say, status quo solutions to every challenge, every problem. And there were some national groups, though, but it's hard to bring them in to focus on North Carolina. So that's why, in starting planning in 1988 and 1989, we started planning for the John Locke Foundation. And I am going to take just a minute, I could take hours, but just a minute to recognize a few early people. One was actually not John Hood, but David Hood. Many of you know that John has a twin brother, David Hood. It was David Hood who came to the Polk Foundation as our first intern and was integral in the planning on the John Locke Foundation. But when it came time to start the John Locke Foundation, they said, no, I'm going to go be a lawyer. But I know this guy, he looks kind of like me, and he's a journalist and researcher and writer. So he actually referred his brother John Hood. But John, along with Mark Rodman, who played a crucial role as the first president of the John Locke Foundation, and Marilyn Avila, now represented at Marilyn Avila. Those three are the first three employees of the John Locke Foundation, got us off to such a wonderful, great start 25 years ago. And on our original board of directors, we had Ed Renfro, the state auditor at the time. We had Burley Mitchell, a justice in North Carolina Supreme Court, later Chief Justice. We had people like Scott Rasmussen, who later went on to found the Rasmussen Reports and polling. And we do have one surviving member of the first John Locke Foundation board, which is my good friend and colleague who has been the core of the John Locke Foundation board for 25 years, David Stover. Now, I'm going to mention one other person by name, because he was one of my early bosses and he taught me so much, and he was the second chairman of the John Locke Foundation after I stopped, and that is Jim Trotter. So Jim, thank you very much for your crucial service. Now, the good news is I'm not going to name everyone, because there are so many people who have been employees and associates of the John Locke Foundation, interns and fellows. So many people who have been contributed through their policy research, through their articles and their columns. There are so many of you who participated in the programs of the John Locke Foundation, who have been donors, associates, partners, sponsors here tonight. But it would not have been possible for John William Polk, my father, to realize his goals through the Polk Foundation and now the John Locke Foundation, preserve the opportunity that he enjoyed, his generation enjoyed for future generations, without all of your support. So thank you very much.
When I first think about the John Locke Foundation, the first thing that comes to mind is the fact that for 25 years, they have been effectively representing freedom, liberty, and the best interests of the American people.
Newspapers are fading, and investigative reporting has been fading with it, but not in North Carolina because of the John Locke Foundation.
As a reporter, when I want to find out what's going on in North Carolina, I look to the John Locke Foundation.
People know that the John Locke Foundation is the gold standard of state-based think tanks.
Anyone who's interested in policy needs facts to back up what they advocate. We all have feelings, but you actually need to have something to ground that in. And so a place like the John Locke Foundation can offer that.
John Locke himself once said, "The improvement of understanding is for two ends. First, our own increase of knowledge. Secondly, to enable us to deliver that knowledge to others, something well demonstrated by the John Locke Foundation's mission."
You know, what's important to remember about the John Locke Foundation is the vision that Art Pope had 25 years ago, to have a conservative state think tank that does solid research and has an impact on the state politically and in other ways as well.
Without the John Locke Foundation, a lot of the positive changes that have come about in North Carolina simply would not have been thought of, would never have happened.
It's helped North Carolina emerge as a more conservative state than most people expected.
Its focus on developing a much better understanding of free enterprise, of the importance of the family, of the key role that community plays, is really central both to the better, healthy development of North Carolina, but frankly to conservatives all over America.
In a free society, if you want people to change the direction of their government, you need to give them reasons. And the John Locke Foundation gives people facts and reasons and arguments and turns every citizen into somebody making progress for liberty.
Congratulations.
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 Congratulations
To the John Locke Foundation on 25 years.
On your 25th anniversary.
Of a whole quarter of a century doing good work.
of leadership.
Of helping make America better.
Here's to 25 more.
Hi, I'm Brian Taylor, and I'm not Art Pope, and I'm not John Hood, and I'm not Governor McCrory or Michael Barone. You're wondering who I am. Before I go, I'm actually a member of the board, but there's some kids handing some things out. They're from the Longleaf Charter School here, and we'd like for you guys to take a look at this and fill this information out if you would. It will help us a lot to know exactly who you are and to kind of get a handle on where we need to go with this. My job tonight is to talk to you a little bit about what we've done and where we're trying to get to. You know, we thank you for joining us to celebrate 25 years of vision and generosity. But we've been fortunate to have the Pope family support us, and also the seed donors. They've continued to support us over the years, and despite the criticism, there's been a lot of criticism of Art and the work that he's done. Most of the people suffer from something called PDS, that'd be Pope derangement syndrome, and it's a sad thing to see. But we're doing our best to find a cure. The good doctor will speak on that in a little while. But without the support of the Pope family, John Hood wouldn't have come to Raleigh and done all the good work in public policy. Becky Gray wouldn't be here working in the legislature, helping to convince the legislators of the things the good points of our policies, and that they ought to sort of take those policies and put them into law. Roy Cordato, Terry Stoops, and all of our other scholars wouldn't have perhaps not been here to do the groundbreaking research that they've done. Carolina Journal might not be here doing all of the incisive research, just ask Kay Hagan. I think that you know, we hadn't seen any checks from Kay, have we? But all of us here personally benefited from the things that the Locke Foundation has done by laws passed following our advice. Over the years, many of us have joined the effort to try to, but giving generously to support this work. We recognize Art and other seed donors couldn't do the job on their own. But we're still not where we need to be. We didn't have the breadth, we really don't have the breadth and depth of financial support to do the things we need to do to help get North Carolina move forward. The annual budget we've got is about $3.5 million. That's a substantial amount, but not enough. This is a large and growing state, and there's more to do than we can really afford right now. I want to assure you that we're careful stewards of the money. Art's looking at us, but we have a lot of other donors as well. Any additional funds we raise are not going to be used to buy helicopters or airplanes or build office buildings or do any of those things, nor are we going to give Kory an armored limousine to tour Italy like Mike Easley did about 10 years ago. Spent $60,000 of taxpayers' money to do that, to protect himself. But as we grow to perhaps $4 or $5 million in budgets, Kory will probably still be driving his 7-year-old Volvo, but perhaps we'll let him stay in hotels instead of sleeping in his car. We'll be a little less wrinkled, but we'll still be frugal. The fact that you're here tonight suggests that you're interested in our work. As a board member, I'd like to make a sincere request that you think about how much more we could accomplish with every person in this room decided to help and to make a substantial and sustained financial commitment to us. Some of you already do, and for that we're really most appreciative. But we need to remember that the policy successes that we've had didn't happen overnight. That took sustained hard work over a long time. To maintain and build on that, we need your sustained help. The good thing about the Locke Foundation, as you always know, is you know exactly where we stand. Although we encourage vigorous debate, our commitment is always to individual freedom, and that will never waver. I wish I could say the same thing about elected officials, present company accepted. But that's why we're here, to help our leaders maintain and put good reform in place. Paige Hamp is our new director and vice president of donor relations, and she's going to know who you are, and you're going to know who she is because she's going to contact you. But please think about doing something for John Locke Foundation. It means a lot to the future of all of us in this room and future North Carolinians. Please become a financial supporter and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks very much.
Hello and good evening. My name is Nola Grace Brown, and I'm a junior and a dance endorsement candidate at Longleaf School of the Arts. Longleaf is a brand new college prep charter high school located right here in Raleigh. I am pleased to present our school's chamber choir under the direction of the fabulous Ted Willis. We are very grateful to be here with all of you tonight. Please enjoy their rendition of Heartland.
I suppose I really shouldn't try to follow that, but I have a couple of responsibilities. I should mention, by the way, that hand-delivered to your table were some sheets and envelopes, and we would love you to become a supporter of the Locke Foundation as a financial contributor, as a volunteer. We have a variety of ways that you can help us out, and if you would leave that information in the envelope on the table, we'll be happy to pick that up after the event. We do appreciate you being here very much. Our namesake English philosopher John Locke once wrote that the end of law is not to abolish or restrain, but to preserve and enlarge freedom. At the John Locke Foundation, freedom has always been our organizing principle. We believe each North Carolinian should be free to govern his own affairs and pursue his own dreams. We believe in maximizing that individual right to the extent consistent with the equal rights of others to do the same. So in state policy, JLF has long sought smaller, less expensive government paid for with low, flat-rate taxes. We've sought to maximize choice and competition in the delivery of public services, such as health care and education. We've sought a lighter regulatory burden We've sought to make government more transparent and more deliberative. Through it all, we asked ourselves a very simple question. Does the policy in question make people more free? If the answer is yes, then we will typically support it. If the answer is no, we won't. Now, here's a basic reality. If your goal isn't measured, it is easy for it to be overlooked. But as John Locke himself put it, it is of a greater use to the sailor to know the length of his line, even though he cannot with it fathom all the depths of the ocean. Not everything can be measured, but if we can measure a goal, then we're more likely to be able to achieve it. Tonight, the John Locke Foundation announces a new project to measure key policy indicators in North Carolina, our First in Freedom Index. As those of you who are not Yankees may recall, there are a few here. Back in the 1970s, we used to have on our license plate the slogan, First in Freedom, referring to North Carolinians and their role in the American Revolution. Now, thanks to legislative action last year, we're about to have the opportunity to put First in Freedom on our license plates once again. I know all of you are going to do that. I certainly am. And as you do that, I want you to consider how wonderful it would be if North Carolina really was first in freedom. What does that mean? Our new index explains it all. You'll find a little card at your table. You can put it in your pocket later and take a look at it. This is one of the graphs from the report, and it shows that North Carolina ranks 23rd in freedom in the United States. Now, I know some of you are thinking, gosh, that's not so hot, but believe me, that's actually a significant improvement over the last 4 years when we would have been in the bottom half of states. The top 5 states are Florida, Arizona, Indiana, South Dakota, and Georgia. North Carolina should aspire to be in their company. In fact, North Carolina ought to be number 1. To get there, we're going to need lots of help. And as many people have said tonight, you have all sorts of different organizations and individuals and public officials who have to cooperate to make this happen. We'll need leaders, most of all. And that's one of the reasons why we take an opportunity at our annual dinners to honor North Carolina leaders who have contributed to the movement for freedom. This is the James K. Polk Award for Leadership in Public Office. It is a highly coveted award, as it is the only award named after America's greatest president. Every year I say that and people laugh. I don't understand. Everybody knows Polk was the greatest president in American history. He was born in Mecklenburg County, but we won't hold that against him. He graduated first in his class at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill with highest honors in both mathematics and the classics. Now, he graduated in 1818, more than half a century before the first intercollegiate football game was played. That means that when he went to Chapel Hill, he actually went to lectures on campus. He wrote his own papers. So that is a real achievement. Now, our Polk Award honoree tonight, U.S. Representative Virginia Foxx, knows firsthand the importance of academic rigor in higher education. She received both of her undergraduate and master's degrees from UNC Chapel Hill and her doctorate from UNC Greensboro. She taught at Caldwell Community College, was a sociology instructor at Appalachian State University, and held several administrative positions at ASU, including assistant dean of the General College. Dr. Foxx also served as Deputy Secretary for Management for Governor Jim Martin. From 1987 to 94, she served as president and later a consultant for Malin Community College in Spruce Pine, North Carolina. In that last year, 94, Virginia Foxx was elected to the North Carolina Senate. She spent 10 years in the legislature, where she successfully sponsored several statewide and local bills and consistently voted against tax increases, yes, and for legislation that would make North Carolina a better place to be. Her legislative record so impressed the voters of North Carolina's 5th Congressional District that they elected her to the U.S. House of Representatives in 2004 to succeed Richard Burr, who of course was moving on to the U.S. Senate. Now serving her 6th term in Congress, Virginia has established herself as a champion of individual freedom, limited government, and the reform of higher education. She chairs the House Education and Workforce Subcommittee on Higher Education. She serves as vice chair of the powerful House Rules Committee and secretary of the House Republican Conference. Ever since her days in the legislature, Virginia Foxx has been a great friend of the John Locke Foundation. Indeed, I am told of a recent case where a constituent went to her and complained, about the lack of sufficient unbiased coverage of state government in her local newspaper. I can't believe anybody would complain about that, but you never know who you're going to meet when you're a member of Congress. So this person said this to Virginia Foxx, and she replied, "Well, that's why you need to read Carolina Journal," which is an excellent response. She has taken on challenging issues and seemingly doomed causes. She's done so because, frankly, somebody has to. Her explanation is this: if we do not make tough decisions now, future Americans will have to make even tougher decisions. Quite right, and spoken like a true heir of North Carolina's tradition of courageous, plain-spoken leaders. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in honoring this year's recipient of the James K. Polk Award, Virginia Foxx.
You ask an elected official, does she want to say a few words? I am really humbled and honored to be here tonight. It's been a great program. I want to also add my thanks to the comments that have been made about Art Pope and John Hood and all the people associated with the John Locke Foundation. I do refer people on a regular basis to Carolina Journal. I read it every day. I actually get it on both of my emails so that I'm sure not to miss it. The Locke Foundation has done so much good for the state of North Carolina, and I agree with some of the commentaries in the video that North Carolina would not be the conservative state that it is without what John Locke Foundation has done. It is my honor to serve on the John Pope Education Foundation Center, and with Governor Martin and several other wonderful folks who are here tonight. So I'm very pleased to be involved that way. I mentioned something to John and Art just before the meeting, and they asked me to relay it to you, so I'm cutting out most of my other comments to tell you this story. I said, you know, I think my very first real involvement with the Locke Foundation was right after I was elected to the General Assembly. They had a workshop on healthcare issues, and I went to it. And it was a very eye-opening experience for me. I learned there about our historic problems with healthcare, third-party payer, and other kinds of things. And it gave me a perspective I had never had. And I told John and Art, I said, I often use that information now in explaining our dilemmas with healthcare in our country. And I have learned to give some other examples, but that really made a huge difference to me as a legislator and as a member of Congress. So I want you to know that what the John Locke Foundation does, I'll get my loyalty straight here in a minute, what the Locke Foundation has done has very practical experience. It gives us practical experiences and knowledge, and the comments that were all made. So I want to thank all of you all for being here tonight, for supporting the John Locke Foundation, and I want to thank John and his colleagues on the board for giving me this award. I cherish it. Thank you very much.
So I have one more bit of business this evening, and that will be in just a moment. I want to express again my heartfelt thanks to you for being here. I know you're going to love our wonderful guest speaker in just a moment. I want you to call your attention to the program where we have listed all of our sponsors, and we've been showing some of our sponsors on the screen over the course of time. We really appreciate them as well. They're what make us able to do events like this. The other award I'm presenting tonight is called the Knight of the Right. Here is the award. I'm very proud of this. I don't know what you're laughing about. I like military miniatures. Also, I should mention, I have carefully washed my hands before handling all of the trophies tonight. So, the Knight of the Right was named because here's what we were trying to do. We were trying to figure out something valuable that we could steal from the News and Observer. And there wasn't much. But one of the things they did one time, they wrote a story about art and they named it Knight of the Right. So we decided to name our award Knight of the Right. For this 25th anniversary, the choice of our honoree is obvious. He has spent 30 years in the think tank sector, half of them here at the John Locke Foundation. He is a scholar with a master's in philosophy from Bowling Green State University and a law degree from the University of Toledo. He is a talented administrator, helping to run the Social Philosophy and Policy Center in Ohio before coming to help run the John Locke Foundation. And he is now president and CEO of the John Locke Foundation, the very man who engineered the coup against me. My successor, my colleague, my friend, Kory Swanson, Knight of the Right for 2015.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm truly honored and humbled, as Virginia is as well, by this opportunity to lead the John Locke Foundation as it enters into its second quarter century. I want to thank John Hood, Art Pope, the board of the John Locke Foundation for their confidence and support. And especially I want to thank my John Locke colleagues. They are a great crew to work with. We wouldn't be where we are, and we won't be where we're going to be without them. So kudos to my colleagues at the John Locke Foundation. Now, many of you have met our esteemed guests this evening, two of America's greatest statesmen, John Adams and Thomas Jefferson. Now, both have acknowledged, even publicly this evening, the import of the ideas of John Locke on their own thinking and on the American founding. Now, as you know, the Founding Fathers were keen observers of human nature. As Mr. Jefferson has noted, the natural progression of things is for liberty to yield and government to gain ground. As both Jefferson and Adams will agree, central to arresting this progression is to have in place a vibrant intellectual foundation from which to usher forth freedom-maximizing policies and actions. Without that vigorous intellectual foundation, North Carolina cannot become first in freedom. Now, let me give you my spin on the fundraising aspect. Many of you here this evening are making the investment in freedom's intellectual foundation with your support, through your support of the John Locke Foundation, and for that, I truly thank you. You are making North Carolina a better place, a place in which we all can flourish. Now, for those of you here this evening who are looking to have a profound impact on the future of freedom in North Carolina, I invite you to make the John Locke Foundation the cornerstone of your freedom investment strategy. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's a rare occasion indeed when we can publicly acknowledge the success of a hometown talent who has established herself as an influential figure in national conservative media circles. The John Locke Foundation's Vice President for Communication and publisher of our great Carolina Journal, John Ham, and his wife Kay have raised 3 remarkable children. John and Owen, the boys, are on the way, or both Eagle Scouts, by the way, are on the way to successful careers in their chosen industries. Now, the eldest child, Mary Katharine, caught her father's bug for journalism early on. A graduate of Riverside High School in Durham and the Grady College of Journalism at the University of Georgia, Mary Katharine started her journalistic career at the Richmond County Daily Journal. From there, she went on to Washington, D.C., where she made her mark quickly. At townhall.com, she was a columnist and the managing editor. Her video blog series for townhall.com, called Ham Nation, won a Golden Dot Award for Best Vlog of 2006 from the Institute for Politics, Democracy, and the Internet, and her Ham Nation video, the now legendary Sopranos DC, was voted Video of the Year in 2007 in the 2007 Weblog Awards. The series ended in 2008, but Mary Katharine still occasionally posts new videos on her YouTube channel called MK Hammer. From Town Hall, Mary Katharine went on to write for the Washington Examiner, the Daily Caller, and the Weekly Standard, and is now editor-at-large for the conservative political blog Hot Air. Well, okay, so she's gotten that. And then there's radio to conquer. Mary Katharine has appeared on various radio programs, and she was the host of her own talk radio show, The Morning Monthly, on WMAL in Washington, D.C. And Mary Katharine has also guest hosted for other radio personalities, including Hugh Hewitt on his nationally syndicated program. And of course, there's television. Mary Katharine has been a guest panelist on Foxx late night satire show, The Red Eye with Greg Gutfield. And to give you an idea of how important and how influential she's become in the media, she appeared in February 2014 as a guest co-host on The View. Now, most of us, though, know Mary Katharine from her regular appearances on Fox News, The O'Reilly Factor, where she usually appears with Juan Williams. With great aplomb, she makes Bill O'Reilly spin in his chair, letting O'Reilly know, and us know, in no uncertain terms, that when Mary Katharine is in the studio, she controls the no-spin zone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome Mary Katharine Ham.
Hello, everyone. That was far too kind an intro. I appreciate it very much. You know, just now sitting at this table, by the way, I was sandwiched between 2 representatives and a former governor. For a brief shining moment, I felt like an Iowa voter. I will never be this important again. I am the last thing standing between you guys and our featured speaker tonight. My father gave me this job because they always give the firstborn the tough stuff. So I will make it brief, but I do want to say a few words because I am a hometown girl. North Carolina is a great place. It is my home. It's also what I know as the place I spent my awkwardest years. I'm really glad to have makeup artists now. But I felt good coming home today as I crossed the border and I could smell the Bojangles. I could taste the salt of liberals' tears. Many of them my friends, bless their hearts. Thank you for all the work that you've done here. And lest I be accused of Hillary Clintoning up here, if I slide into a bit more of a Southern accent, it is thanks to all of you speaking to me tonight. It is my real one. The one that I have in the Devil's Den where I work is just the sad byproduct of having been there for too long. So thank you for bringing it back a little bit. And if I say, hey, y'all, that's the real deal.